Hey, welcome back. Uh, Usually I have a fairly crystallized idea in my mind when I start chatting it up, and today there's a lot of ideas running around, so just kind of hoping and praying and intending that the bottom line message is delivered with clarity for the joy and the illumination, the interest of my friends. Anyway, there's that old saying, if it's 10 miles into the woods, it's 10 miles out. So the topic this week is this maybe admittedly strange concept of God reeling us back in, all of us being extensions of God. We're all sparks of light and love thrown off by the infinite. And because we're given this free will adventure in this amazing playground called the universe, which is eternal, it's fascinating where we can wander and where we can go. Each and every one of us is one, but we're not one and the same. And so each and every one of us has an individual adventure, karma, interest, preference. We're all made in the image of God, and we all have this creative power to create enormous, spectacular, glorious good. And there's some other places we can go. There's some things we can do that cause us, that may seem tempting at the start, but they cause an essential sort of, I don't know, what are almost all theologies talk about the fall of man. And in yoga, the number one problem, the number one affliction is called avidya. We forget who we are, and then we wander off into misadventures, and our sense of separation with our true nature becomes clouded, obscured. We forget. Now, of course, this is perfectly mirrored in the story of the prodigal son who says, "Dad, I want my inheritance now. I'm gonna go adventure and have fun, and I feel kind of constrained living around the house, and my older brother who lives here kind of driving me crazy because he's kind of an arrogant jerk, and I'm gonna get out and see what I can do with life. So, Dad, will you give me my inheritance?" And a good, intelligent father says yes. The prodigal son wanders out. Things go well for a time, but then he meets the wrong person. He makes some bad decisions. He gets discouraged and depressed. He gets self-willed, and he finds himself in a very bad place. Now, each and every one of us is different in that regard. I don't know how much difficulty you've run into in your life. Some lifetimes seem to be characterized by smooth, harmonious, functional, never-ending expansion into goodness and glory. Some lives, while they have a good deal of that, they are characterized by forgetfulness and wandering down dark paths of discouragement or disease or depression or addiction or emotional trouble or scarcity or limitation, just the things that cause suffering. And we're all different in that regard. Some people have gone 1 mile into the woods. Some people have gone 10 miles into the woods. There's something about the people who've gone 10 miles into the woods, oftentimes it stimulates their spiritual seeking. As we've discussed many times, pain and suffering is the touchstone of all spiritual growth. But the topic this week is, no matter how far off we wander, no matter into what scrapes we get ourselves into, no matter how far we've tugged our line as aggressive fish running away from the reel and the pole itself, God knows where we are. Our loving source, infinite wisdom, knows exactly where we are, even when we don't. And while it would be great if we could fix ourselves with our own selves, oftentimes we know how entirely futile that is. As Einstein said, the mind that creates the problem cannot be the same mind that solves the problem. And since every problem has a solution, if we don't have it, we know that larger mind, larger love, infinite wisdom, infinite compassion knows how to get us out of every scrape, every problem, every difficulty, especially the ones that seem too big, too large, too overwhelming for each one of us individually. So, how do we best do that? I think it's unquestionably true that when we've tried everything on our own, we've struggled, we've strained, we've thought, we've resisted, we've fought in every way that we can, that the way that we allow our higher power to bring us back in, to reel us back in, is through the greatest possible surrender. We cease fighting anyone or anything. We make ourselves as small as possible and as humble as possible. And when we do this, it's so much easier for God love source to reel us back in through the twists and the turns and the mazes and the labyrinthine thorny bushes we've gotten ourselves caught in. And the more we surrender, the easier we are drawn back in. Anyway, just remember how much you are loved as we find ourselves in these sticky situations. And if you've done everything you can, that pure and perfect, humble surrender is always the quickest way to get back home. When we do that and simply aim ourselves back in the right direction, it is our Father who comes running out to meet us. And if that's not the most glorious, heartfelt message of all time, I believe it is. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow.